Media organisations today are looking to build a more diverse and inclusive workplace culture in order to elicit social change and stay competitive and viable within the entertainment and media market. Through understanding the value of gender and racial diversity, the impact it has on workplace culture, and constructing a feasible implementation strategy to achieve an equal, diverse, and inclusive workplace culture, industry professionals can recognise the changes and considerations needed to be made. This issue is clear when analysing the lack of race and gender diversity in film production workplaces and the complications that workers and managers in media are facing as a result. Trevor Phillips, a UK broadcaster, commented on the lack of diversity within the industry, stating that some efforts at diversity are tokenistic, with many television stations self-congratulating their efforts, underlining that one of the challenges with audiences demanding inclusivity is that companies will incorporate diversity as a part of a fad to generate profits from marginalised groups. This behaviour from leading organisations does not provide any real change or long-term commitment to diversity, and further highlights that for a company to enact real change, it must be from the top down. By enacting the top-down approach in conjunction with the media company's overall goals, diversity engagement can work to shape employees' and managers' behaviours and place organisational values on diversity at the centre of a company's framework. To identify the specific challenges and impact of workers within the media industry, companies must consider the differential roles in seniority and power and what that can reveal about the inequalities between gatekeepers and those in hierarchical roles. The lack of diversity at these top levels employ continual diversity disparities and further hinder the ability to foster a more diverse and inclusive workplace culture within the industry, as they have the ability to reinforce power imbalances and economic and social inequality. And due to the entrenched gender and diversity imbalance in these media organisations and the entertainment industry at large, the dangers of predominantly white male, middle-aged workforce are given too much opportunity to project their views on Australia and audiences at large.
Gender and racial equality has long been an issue for management in the media and entertainment industry. While the source and contributors are genuinely undistinguished, it is evident that the management and workplace structure is a key reason for the success or failure of implementing diversity. Racial and gender hierarchy has been embedded into young children's minds, which is no wonder why these issues have transferred into the adult world's workplace. Disney's long-loved film The Lion King presents a gender hierarchy where the throne is continually passed from male to male. There is still a long way to go before effective management methods make change throughout the industry. Media company Vice has had to make a payout of $1.875 million after a pay discrimination lawsuit involving 675 female employees. What is even more troubling is that this payout would have been larger, but Vice has a history of hiring young female workers. However, in 2018, a senior manager at Vice joked about their hiring strategy involving a 22 rule. Hire 22-year-olds, pay them $22,000 and work them 22 hours a day, according to Reeves Weidman. The pay discrimination lawsuit came not long after another allegation in 2018 involving sexual misconduct. Creating change towards a more equal, diverse, and inclusive workplace allows for more creativity, productivity, and performance in workers, as well as improving the connection and understanding of others. A positive outcome from a diverse implementation in the workplace can be seen at Comcast NBC Universal. They have been awarded Diversity Inc.'s 2020 Top 50 Companies, coming in at number 7, as well as receiving for the 7th time in 8 years Best Place to Work for LGBTQ equality. Managers are responsible for setting the tone within the workplace, creating an open environment where there is inclusion, and educating the employees about how to work and be with people who are different. Talking about diversity and equality before there is a problem and clearly defining the expectations and filtering them through every employment level paves the way for creating change in the media industry.
After identifying these issues in the industry, we are considering the change in culture to be a really important step in the right direction. Therefore, our strategy is to change the culture within the organization to be more inclusive and diverse. The main tactic to accomplish this is to implement a training program where both the employees and the managers are trained in diversity and inclusion. This training program will be a recurring action to keep all the employees and managers reminded that diversity and inclusion is really important in the workplace. There's an article from the Journal of Organizational Behavior that explains some of the benefits that this kind of training program can have. The article analyzed the results of 65 different studies on diversity training and found that diversity training in the workplace can have several positive outcomes, focusing mainly on three different outcomes. The first one being affective outcome, which impacted the workplace attitudes, the self-efficacy, or the workers' belief in themselves, as well as the general motivation of the workers. The second one was cognitive outcomes, which impacted the verbal knowledge, the organization of knowledge, and also the cognitive strategies, so the problem-solving abilities. And the third and last one was skill-based outcomes, which included behavioral changes in the workplace. These results are really significant because they show some tremendous changes in the workplace culture when diversity training is implemented. And not only changes in attitudes and behavior, but also the workers' motivation, the workers' belief in themselves, as well as really important cognitive skills. These cultural changes are really important to the organization because the organizational culture is closely related to the implementations of strategy, as well as the overall performance of the organization. As Lucy Kung mentions in her book, the organizational culture is often looked at as one of the reasons why a company are having problems with implementing strategies. This just further emphasizes the importance of culture in general, and also how these cultural changes in work behavior and attitude can really improve the performance of the company.
Creating a workplace safety contract would be an additional tool beneficial in changing the culture of any film production company. Considering the structure film companies work within, most employees will be temporary staff. A contract would ensure that all workers are up to date with company policy and expectations. Such a contract would be required to be signed by all current employees as well as any new employees hired. The contract would include statements that target gender and racial discrimination and the clear and finite consequences for if these codes of conduct are broken. Not only will this ensure that there is no confusion as to what a company tolerates, it will allow marginal groups to feel welcome as soon as they are employed. An example where a similar strategy has been implemented in workplaces is in the policies outlined by Confederation of Australian State Theatres. These policies directly target all levels of production in Australian theatres and have been integrated by companies such as Queensland Theatre. This strategy could easily be redesigned to relate to film production companies. Issues agreed upon in the contract will be reinforced by the monthly training program discussed previously. This change will impact managers as they will be forced to strictly outline what will be included in the contract and then must be adamant on making sure all employees are complying. Additionally, with the use of the contract, employees' jobs will be on the line if they refuse, providing an extrinsic motivator to create a workplace that values diversity. According to Lucy Kung, a strong culture gives rise to a rigidity that impedes the ability to adapt, which highlights a key challenge for workers with this strategy in that their deep-rooted culture will be undermined, possibly with great difficulty. However, with consistency and tenacity, people can be swayed to comply. There are many challenges when looking to diversify a company, particularly in the film industry, where practices disadvantage women and people of colour. Such issues include the lack of diversity in high-ranking positions in film production companies and a rigid culture that is difficult to shift. The strategy proposed is that the training sessions are implemented monthly and a contract outlining the expectation of the film company in upholding respect towards racial and gender imbalances is to be signed. If the culture within a film production company is changed at all levels, then diversity can be easily achieved.